Hello, 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 and welcome to a war tutorial in Victoria 3. I'm calling this a war tutorial because every war is different, and to give a single tutorial on what to do in war would be very difficult. But recently, in one of the episodes of my Transvaal's Revenge series, the UK started a diplomatic play against us, and what resulted was a very interesting war that ended with a Transvaal victory by Naval invading the British mainland and taking the Cape Colony. So in this video, what I'm going to do is break down what I did, hoping that it can serve as a tutorial on a war. I'll be jumping around the video to highlight certain important aspects, sometimes playing the audio from the live stream, other times with me talking over it. If you're interested in watching the entirety of the war unedited, you'll find it in my video Transvaal's Revenge, Episode 9. The diplomatic play starts at the 1 hour, 35 minute, and 23 second mark. A little bit of background on the lead up to the war. As I said, I was playing as Transvaal with the intention of taking over the Cape Colony to form South Africa. I had just started building up my military with the intention of eventually declaring war on the Cape Colony, which means declaring war on Great Britain. Unfortunately, the UK declared war on me very early when I wasn't fully prepared. So we'll look at what I did during the diplomatic play and what strategy I decided on in the lead up to the war itself, and then near the end, the eventual naval invasion of the British mainland. So, let's get into it. What's happening? I was not... Oh no. I am not ready. I am not ready. We have a chance to sway France. Yeah. Jackie, yeah. R.I.P. Right? I was going to take on Great Britain in this run tonight. It was a good run. No, we have a chance. Well, first of all, it looks like we might be able to sway the French. We might be able to sway the French. So we'll see what happens there. But we have a shot here. This might be a blessing in disguise. So, well, here's the thing. Okay, how many Diplo points do we have? We have 130. So, yeah, I think we'll have enough. So we want the Cape Colony. We want the Northern Cape. We want the Eastern Cape. Oh, we have two fronts. See, I want these three armies over here. So we're going to need an army over there. This war presented two fronts, one in the north and one in the south. The one to the south is with the Cape Colony, which is now our war goals. When the war starts, in order to lower Great Britain's war score, I'll need to hold these three states. The front to the north doesn't present me with any war goals. In my army tutorial video, I describe the regiments I create. Main army, one that can go on offense or defense, cavalry, an all-offensive army, National Guard, an all-defensive army, and a landing party for naval invasions. I'm going to send my main army and cavalry to the southern front so that I can take that land, and my National Guard will be sent to the northern front. The idea is to hold the line in the north until the main army and cavalry takes the Cape in the south and can join the National Guard on the front in the north. All right, we need the authority because we're going to get some enlistment offices. Adding the decree enlistment efforts will increase the amount of conscripts you can create because it adds 5% to the state's conscription rate. Conscription rate is the percentage of a state's workforce that can become conscripts. So if you add enlistment efforts to a state with high employment, you can get a lot more conscripts. On top of that, it also adds plus 25% to the state's training rate, which determines how quickly your conscription center and barracks can hire soldiers. Adding enlistment efforts to states with high employment is a powerful tool in boosting the manpower of your armies. So, just give me troops. Now that I've added enlistment efforts, I have a lot more conscripts to assign to my armies. So in this next part, I'm filling out my armies with conscripts so that they're at the maximum amount of battalions the generals can organize. I also add a few generals to the armies just so I don't leave any potential conscripts at home. Okay, and we need to give these guys their mobilization options. We don't need them to have, like, tons of speed. Yeah, in fact, we won't give any transportation. But we do need a recovery rate on these guys. I opted not to give my National Guard armies transportation options, since those affect how fast the army can move from one front to another. Considering I intend for my National Guard armies to sit at a front and hold the line, the cost of giving them the transportation options isn't worth it. However, the medical support options give your army a higher recovery rate, and this is vital since it affects how quickly wounded soldiers can be returned to the battlefield, keeping the manpower of your army high. I go into more detail about mobilization options in my tutorial video about the army. The rest of this troop arrangement is going to go on for some time, and we're going to skip ahead to the unpause. If you're going into a war against an opponent of similar or greater strength, I recommend pausing the game right when the diplomatic play begins and doing all of your troop arrangement at that point. It takes conscripts time to be hired and mobilized. You want the maximum amount of time for that to happen before the war starts. Remember, the thing you as a player have the most control over when it comes to war is how well supplied your armies are. So this beginning step is probably the most important moment of the war for you as a player. Let's move ahead. Oh, well, hold on. And let's mobilize. We need as much time as possible. Of course, don't forget to mobilize your troops and your conscripts before you do the first unpause. So all of these guys go to that first front. And then the second National Guard, you go up there. Alright. What? France? Ah! I think because I went infamous. The more war goals you add, the higher your infamy. Once you go over 25, you change levels and countries start to get mad at you. Going over 25 will affect how willing other countries are to join your side of a war, like what happened here with France. We won't add war reps because we're not going to be able to hold an incorporated state. Unless, did they incorporate any of this? They did. War reps. I mean, why not at this point? So this was an incredibly dumb thing to do. When you add war reparations as a war goal, you have to be able to occupy one of the target's incorporated states. If you don't, their war score will never go below 0. I was a real idiot in this moment because I saw the state of the Northern Cape was incorporated. What I was forgetting is Northern Cape is an incorporated state in the country of the Cape Colony, not Great Britain. Great Britain's incorporated states are on their mainland. This is going to become a major problem later in the war. These guys are heavily outnumbered. What are they sending here? Australia. Infantry and skirmish. So we're outnumbered. Ooh, okay. I wonder if we have enough time. You come down here to the Eastern Cape Zambezi front. And you go up here. Defend the front up there. What I'm doing here is looking at the details on the number at the two fronts. It compares the total amount of manpower for each side and average power, putting into account the offensive and defensive scores of the armies at that front. I decided to switch which front the two National Guard armies were at in order to balance out the numbers. You should always keep an eye on the manpower comparison at the various fronts and try to balance it out if you can. You don't always need more manpower if you have a more powerful army, but a significant imbalance is not something to ignore. Alright. Oh. That was a good switch. I mean, they're just going to keep sending troops, though. But if we can swoop in and take the Cape Colony before they can send reinforcements, then at least they would have to naval invade it to get there. And then we can focus up here. We are heavily outnumbered. I'll tell you that much. Of the conscripts in there. Wait, how did we... Oh, I was like, how did that front happen? We ended up getting a third front in that small segment of land owned by Portugal, which was a subject of Great Britain at the time. Something I should have anticipated, but overlooked, unfortunately. The addition of a third front makes things a little more complicated, depending on how many soldiers they send there. This is something I talk about near the end of my army tutorial video when I go over naval invasions. A new front creates a new point of attack. In this case, it's an additional point of attack for Great Britain against me. We shall fight them on the land. We shall not fight them in the air, as we haven't invented it yet. Yeah, I wonder if there will be a battle here, since this fleet has 0 flotillas. Hey, okay. We also got our negative 10% military goods costs. Another thing to note, since it hasn't been mentioned yet, are companies. Some of them provide some valuable prosperity bonuses for your military. If you're planning a war, including companies in your plan can be very valuable. Now, though Great Britain attacked me before I was ready, since I was planning on going to war eventually, I had 2 companies already established. One gave me a negative 10% to military goods cost, and another gave me a plus 5% to army offense. These 2 were generic companies and are available to any country in the game, but depending on the country you are, you might have a unique company that provides excellent military bonuses. Something to keep in mind if you're preparing for war. I was hoping to make some progress before they sent people. Maybe we can take out this fleet. What I'm doing here is keeping an eye out for where Great Britain is placing their navies. Though your armies don't move from front to front all that much, since you usually only have a couple fronts in a war, your navies have a lot of sea nodes they can travel between. While your generals are taking care of when battles begin at the front lines, you as the player should keep an eye on enemy navies and either try to intercept them at certain sea nodes or try to raid the shipping lanes of enemy armies. A naval commander has 3 basic commands: intercept, raid, or escort. When set to intercept, when a navy occupies the same sea node as another navy, your commander will look to engage the enemy in combat. When set to raid, your commander will sink enemy convoys, and when set to escort, your commander will protect your convoys. Try to move navies around with these 3 commands in mind. Play around with adding multiple naval commanders to a navy, each set to a different command. With this war, I knew Great Britain had a larger navy. My navies had similar strength, but much less manpower. I tried to keep moving my navies around in search for British navies that were much more equal in manpower. Also keep an eye out for the notifications on the bottom right. Ones in red will tell you what sea nodes the enemy is sinking your convoys. You can send commanders with the escort and intercept orders to those sea nodes to protect your convoys. Ah, man, okay. They don't have a lot of manpower there. I wonder if I can split off a little bit from the cavalry here. A new army. Give us 2 skirmish. So that'll give us about 4,000 troops. Yeah, we'll take this guy. And you go meet them over here before they can get the manpower back up. All right. God, these guys are doing God's work up here. Yeah, we're gonna lose all of our... Oh! And the Madagascar Corps, you go to that front. Ooh, we got some naval battles. What do you say, guys? Ooh, wait, what? What's happening here? Alright, let's set one of you to advance the front. You can see we're starting to make progress in the south on our offensive front at the Cape Colony, but we're starting to lose ground in the north on our defensive front. I've changed the orders of one of the commanders in the National Guard Army in the north to advance front in order to take back some ground. When all of your commanders are on defensive orders, the army will never push forward. This is fine as long as you don't lose ground. Once you start losing ground, at least one general in the defensive army needs to advance the front in order to take back some of it. Oh, we're pushing them back here. That's good. Slowly but surely. The problem is this front. Okay. I think maybe... Oh, man, I hate to take... Who would be mass migrating here right now? I mean, honestly. I hate to take anybody off this front. I wonder if I can just... crush that real quick. We took it. Alright, so we moved the front. So go after this. That's incorporated. God. I don't necessarily want to go there. Yeah, we need to crush this because this will go right into our capital. But they're about to add a bunch of soldiers here. You'll notice I'm hovering my mouse over the green or red circles at the front lines. What I'm doing is keeping an eye on the manpower comparisons and trying to make sure that I'm at least even. Oh, God. This is tense. This is tense. Is anybody else out there tense? Because I'm tense. Oh, they're pushing back, though. Look at that. Okay, we're pushing them back. We're pushing them back. Here we go. Haha. Go take those guys out. What's their manpower at? They're doing pretty good. Oh, I think we pushed the front back. So close. We did it. We took the Northern Cape. It's incorporated. We just have one more state to take. Yeah, look at that. Their war score just got tanked. Ooh, okay. We pushed out. Well, we don't want to go over there. We'll just hold tight right there. Oh, look at this. About to push Portugal back. What about this land here? Okay. We've got Great Britain down to plus 18. Yeah, now the war goals I set, I'll hold all three. Oh, okay, let's pause here. We broke that front. I think we're kind of okay here. Let's send the cavalry over here. What's happened is that small sliver of Portuguese land that had our third front has been broken. I fully occupied that land. So now Great Britain can't send troops there because there's no longer a front. So now I'm sending the troops that were at that front to the two that are remaining. I don't think I've ever been more stressed about a war in this game than this one right here. We did it! We took... Okay, let's pause. We took the Cape. So here's the problem. Do we hold this National Guard here in case of... No, okay, good. Because this is the whole South Africa HQ. So if we need to move them there, it would be very quick to move, I think. So now everybody is going to that front, other than the Madagascar Corps. I think that'll be okay. What I'm considering here is where to put the National Guard army in case Britain tries to naval invade me. Now that we hold all of the Cape Colony states, there are no more fronts in the south. So if the UK wants to take back the Cape, they now have to naval invade. When defending against a naval invasion, you send your army to the HQ and set the general's orders to defend. Any state in that HQ that has a naval invasion initiated will be defended by the armies stationed in that state's HQ. We also now only have one front and can send all of our armies to that front. I'm trying to decide whether to keep an army behind in the HQ or put them on the front line, and in case a naval invasion is initiated, try to move that army back to the HQ. Ah, they got defeated. Okay, it was only a matter of time. You guys fought valiantly. Defeated many a British navy. When one of your navies are defeated in battle, they return to the HQ in order to be repaired. You won't be able to use them for a period of time. You'll see this when you select the Navy and all the options to move them are grayed out. You'll get a notification like the one I just got when they are ready to be used again. See, though, I'm not lowering their war score. Okay, let's take a look here at what's going on. Man, it's cost us a lot more money. Though they have more dead and wounded. The reason why the UK's war score isn't going down is because of this line right here. I mentioned earlier it was a mistake to add war reparations. If I hadn't, their war score would have already been going down since I'm holding all the war goals. Meaning, I hold the 3 states of the Cape Colony. But see here it says, war support cannot be reduced below 0 because neither their capital state nor the following war goals are being occupied. British war reparations. In order to occupy the war goal of British war reparations, I need to hold an incorporated state of the United Kingdom, which only exists on the British mainland. It's also saying I can hold their capital state and the war score will go down, but essentially in this situation, these are the same thing. I'm starting to realize because I added the war goal of war reparations, I'm going to need to naval invade the British mainland. You know, they don't have many armies here. What if we incorporate, or what if we naval invaded Ulster? If we could land it, that would end the war. $32 and $52, $33, $54. See, I didn't set up a landing army, unfortunately. Let's do it. And take the Madagascar Corps. I decided to naval invade the state of Ulster because there are less troops stationed there. When naval invading, you can only send as many battalions as you have flotillas without suffering a penalty. However, the defending side of a naval invasion can station as many troops as they can in the HQ. So technically, a defensive side always has a bit of an advantage. I want to naval invade where there are less troops in order to keep the manpower my army faces low. The UK mainland has 2 HQs, the England HQ and the North Sea HQ. Ulster is in the North Sea. However, you can see here, this dotted line means an army can travel from Ulster to the lowlands as if it were a land crossing. So basically, I can naval invade in the North Sea HQ, and once a front is created, send more armies there and travel into the England HQ. I can go right into the British mainland. Boy, but yeah, this isn't going to work. But if I sent my cavalry here, could I afford to send that cavalry next time? Ooh, I don't know. How many troops do we have in the cavalry? 46,000. God, come on, come on. What is this? We kinda could. The initial army I sent for the naval invasion doesn't seem to be enough of a force to break into Ulster, so what I'm doing now is considering sending the cavalry, which is a bigger army. But first, I want to make sure my northern front back home can afford to lose the cavalry, meaning I'm making sure the loss of manpower at that front won't break the line. Although, yeah, I wouldn't be able to naval invade with this cavalry. What I mean here is my cavalry has more battalions than my navy has flotillas. I'll suffer a penalty to the naval invasion if I use them. What if... Let's... If we can get this navy up to 50, we could send the cavalry up there. Because this army is not going to defeat that army. But my cavalry might be able to. It's very, very possible that the cavalry could do it. Man, are they just going to grind us? This is something to keep in mind when you're facing a bigger and richer country, like I'm doing right now. I haven't gone into it yet, but if you look at my budget up top, I'm currently in default. When you reach your debt limit, your army suffer a negative 5% to offense and defense, which I'm currently suffering from. Sometimes a bigger and richer country can just let a war drag on until you run out of money, default, and can't keep your armies fighting efficiently anymore. Another reason why asking for war reparations was such a mistake. This war would have ended a long time ago had I not included that as a war goal. Alright. The naval invasion failed. That's okay. So you guys come on back. We can put the Madagascar fleet here. And then take... Where is the cavalry? Yeah, we'll take the cavalry. I needed to wait for the Navy to finish repairing after losing the previous naval invasion. Now that they are, I can begin the next invasion. Why can't I take... I think because they're probably in the midst of a battle. Yeah, they're in 2 battles right now. So if I can get the cavalry out of here... Yes, here we go. Go to the HQ. Alright. Let's just go straight to the Midlands. Why not? Yeah, we're gonna suffer, oh, the construction queue's paused. Yeah, whatever. Let's do this. I've realized now that we're in default, our construction queue is paused, meaning I won't be able to increase the number of flotillas in the Navy to match the cavalry. I decided to just suffer the invasion penalty and go for it. I've also realized there aren't as many forces defending the British mainland anymore. Instead of invading Ulster, I now go for the Midlands, as it's closer to their capital state. So the main army is now there. Yeah, they're just like grinding me down here. As you can see, I'm now outnumbered on both fronts. A problem with letting a war go on for too long. I'm having trouble hiring new soldiers to replace the casualties. This is why most wars are won during the diplomatic maneuvers phase. I added a war goal that was too difficult to get, and now I've been unable to lower their war score below 0 for too long. Eventually those fronts will break, so now I must succeed in the naval invasion or I'll lose the war. Oh my god. Am I gonna land on the British? Oh my god, I just took the Midlands. Okay, hold on. Strategic objective. The capital. They don't have anybody there. Now that I've landed in the Midlands, I set the strategic objective to be their capital state, so that my army goes directly for that. I'm probably losing land down here. Yeah. Okay, I want all of my forces at the Zambezi front. Okay, you guys are there. But if we could... Oops. Yeah, they're gonna send people now. There's nobody there. You go here, defeat that navy. Just as the length of this war has depleted my forces, it has done the same to the UK. I've brought all of my forces to one front to hold the line long enough so I can capture the British capital, whereas the UK is going straight for my capital and hasn't left enough forces to defend theirs. Now you'll see their war score is going to start to go down considerably. So it's a possible end to this war finally. God. Oh my god, I've occupied London. I've been going so long, my headphones are dying. So I need to do a switch. But I can't believe this. This might work. Alright, the problem is... Ooh, yeah, look, okay, so here's a problem. Let's slow down for a minute. Zambezi front. No, I want everybody to focus on this Zambezi front. Everybody retreat back over there and just hold the line. This front is right next to my capital. If it breaks and they take my capital state, my war score will start to go down. If you look at the war scores up here, I now have a head start on them. Essentially, it's now a race to getting your opponent to negative 100. Oh my god, are we going to do this? Are we going to do this? See, look, okay, so now they're moving into Transvaal. We've got to stop that, because that's my capital. But they're at negative 79. Ooh, no. Negative 87, come on, boys. 94. Get us to 100. I think we did it. I think we did it. Holy hell. Holy hell, we did it. We defeated the damn British and took the Cape Colony. Oh my god. So despite the mistake of pursuing war reparations, it worked out in the end. Though it should be added, it was at the cost of my entire economy. I will get income from the UK now because of it, but if I was able to end the war back when I took the Cape Colony, I would have been in much less debt, would have been paying much less in interest, and the net probably would have been better. But keep in mind, this war was declared on us, so this wasn't a war of choice. So to wrap this up, one of the biggest takeaways from this should be the importance of the diplomatic maneuvers phase. A war can be won and lost based on what war goals you select. War reparations are nice, but you should put a lot of consideration into whether you pursue them or not. Also, managing your fronts and moving your armies around are pivotal. This is why war in Victoria 3 is not set it and leave it. It takes a lot of management despite not having unit stacks to move around the map. I hope this tutorial was helpful. If it was, please give it a like, and if you want to be alerted to more videos I post, please subscribe to the channel. If there are other videos you'd like me to make, please post them in the comments. Otherwise, be awesome.